Welcome back everyone. Today we'll be beginning with session 4 and 5 of the week 4. So as far as the last week was concerned, I really hope you had an enriching learning experience. So as far as this module is concerned, once we are done with this, you'll be able to understand about the personal selling skills. You will also get a perspective on how we can motivate sales teams and what is it all about the behavioral approach to motivation. Apart from that, we'll also discuss in brief about channel management and how sales come in picture with respect to that. See, there is no denying the fact that personal selling skills are very important as far as a salesperson's success and his job is concerned, right? But before we delve further into these or we get into the intricacies of this, it is very important for us to get a recap of a salesperson's job, sales process, and finally understanding what personal selling is. Because once we are on the same page with respect to these, you will realize that it will be very easy for you to pinpoint what are the personal selling skills that are very crucial for a salesperson. So just have a look at this. In the last week itself, we had discussed about the salesman responsibilities. It was about prospecting, making sure that we are selling on profits or we are not having a loss with respect to the sales we are making. The databases are being maintained and managed on a regular basis. The salesperson is able to manage his tasks in the best possible ways. They should also be handling complaints with respect to the prospects and clients. They should also be willing to provide them services as far as information services and after sales services were concerned, and implementing strategies which the top management has basically or the strategic team has basically proposed. Now when you get to the sales process, we have discussed all these steps in detail, whether it starts from prospecting and qualifying to pre-approaching the prospect, customers or clients, then moving towards approaching, presenting and demonstrations, handling objections, trial closing, and then going for the final closing. Now you might be wondering what is the point of showing you this at this stage. See, when you talk about personal selling skills, they should be orbiting around these. So we'll be talking about them on a broader level and we'll also be connecting how that will come in picture with respect to these. But before we move, I'll tell you what personal selling is. It is all about the face-to-face conversations that salespeople have with the prospects or the customers or the clients. Precisely, it is basically looked at from the domain of being face-to-face. But post-COVID era, even the conversations that are happening virtually can also be considered in this light. Right. Now the first skill which a salesperson is required to have is communication and interpersonal skills. Why communication and interpersonal skills become a prerequisite for a salesperson's success is simply because they are dealing with people on an ongoing basis. Almost every day you will either find them meeting the prospects or the customers or the clients, right? Or if not these, they'll be even working with various teams within an organization. That's why it becomes very important that they are able to communicate with ease and effectively, right? Because that will also pave the way for achieving a higher sense of coordination between various teams that are working together to create delighted experience or great customer experiences for the customers. Now, when a salesperson is conversating, let's say with the prospect or existing customers or even clients, they should be able to read the signals. Let's say if you see the prospect getting agitated or irritated while the sales conversations are going on, you should be able to identify or sense that, then move accordingly. So the best way would be to first pacify them, bring them to a level so that they attain an ease, and then you can move forward. Another thing which we need to consider with respect to communication and interpersonal skills is that they should not be merely restricted to speaking effectively. Listening, as we had discussed earlier also, is a very important part of interpersonal and communication skills. And if you remember, I also gave you this perspective. Let's say if you are not listening to the prospects or customers' problems, then you might miss out on the star products which your organization can definitely come up with or can launch in the market. That's why listening becomes very crucial concerning the salesperson's job. Now the other skill which they need to have is having a customer focused mindset or customer centric approach. Now this also we have discussed earlier. The whole essence of customer centric approach is all about that you should bring customers at the fulcrum of all your decision making processes. If you are changing anything, you should first think how this is going to impact your prospects, customers or clients, which means is this going to make better for them, or is this going to make a little worse or will hamper them in a negative way. So if you approach things like this, which clearly indicates that customer focused mindset is definitely at play. And trust me, this is also going to help you a great deal in connecting well with the customers, leading to which will eventually provide you a path for building long term collaborations, or even the way for having key accounts. Now the next skill which they are required to have is solid product knowledge. Whenever you are meeting prospects, customers or clients, many times they'll be asking you how your product is better than competitors, or what is the unique selling proposition of your product, or how your product is going to add value for us. So until and unless you have solid product knowledge and you know ins and outs about your product as well as competitors product, you might not be able to answer all these questions effectively. So before you go out and meet prospects, clients or customers, it is very important that you are well armed with product knowledge for such situations. Now there are a few strategies that can be used for enhancing product knowledge. First is you should regularly interact with your product team, because they'll be able to give you greater insights about the unique selling proposition or unique features of the product. They might also be able to help you in kind of preparing a framework for passing it on to the prospects, customers or clients what is so special about the product. Another thing is you can definitely talk to users of your products as well as competitors. Now the users of your products are going to give you a perspective about maybe the best things about your product or even issues with your product. But if you even go a mile ahead and start exploring what is special or what is not so good about competitors products, that can also help you a great deal in pitching well or closing deals when you are meeting prospects and customers. Along with this, you should always keep regularly researching what is it that the competitor is doing, or if there are any products that they are thinking of coming up with. After these, the another skill which will hold primary importance is enthusiasm. And trust me, enthusiasm is definitely going to be infectious. When you are talking passionately about your products or about your organization, or it gets reflected how much passionate you are about the job that you are doing, it is definitely going to help you connect well with the prospects or customers. When you intensely give an indication that you are there to help the prospects or solve their problems or just help them in growing their businesses, this is going to be magical as far as your job and connect with prospects or customers or clients is concerned. Now another skill set which is going to at play crucially is problem solving skills. Now when you get to the facet of problem solving skills, what you need to understand is that you are the face of the organization for the prospects, customers or clients. If they are going to face any issues with the product or they need any information, you are the person that they are going to get back to. We do understand that you might not be having every information all the time, or a few queries that they might not be related to your skill set. So what is important is that you connect them with the right people, and your ability and skill set to troubleshoot will certainly play a key role in creating better customer experiences. Because if the problems of the customers and clients are resolved in a paced manner, or you don't take too much of time, this definitely enhances the level of experience and satisfaction for them. Apart from that, empathy. We have discussed about this also at great length. You should be in a position to put yourself in the shoes of the prospects, customers and clients, and then provide solutions to them. This will not only help you connect with them on an emotional level, but will also give you a perspective about the issues and problems of the prospects, customers, which can later on be utilized to improve the offerings. Now, as we move further, we all know that a salesperson is multitasking all the time. In one ways, he could be prospecting, he could also be dealing with the issues of existing customers, or he could also be required to do research as far as the next prospect which is going to meet is concerned. So a lot of jobs, right? So in this case, it becomes critically important that the salesperson should be in a position to manage all these tasks effectively without getting in too much of stress. So as we move further, basic analytical skills are again going to be important. So this can be looked from two perspectives. One is qualitative, which means whenever you are having conversations about the problems of the prospects, customers or clients, even what is it that they like in your product, you can keep notes of that. and there are a lot of softwares like NVivo, Atlas which are available, which can be used for analyzing this data systematically. Another perspective is about quantitative data, which means surveys can be conducted, or if some numerical databases are available. In order to use that effectively, you need to have basic analytical skills so that you can derive great insights from such data. And we all know today for companies, consumer data is definitely a great treasure to bring in exceptionally great insights. Along with this, you should also have the skill set to adapt to feedback, and this is going to be very important when you are in initial phase of your sales job. You might get feedback even from the prospects or customers that you are meeting, from your peers, or definitely from your senior sales manager. So you should take that in positive spirit and should work towards adapting that to improve your job as a salesman. Now another facet which is going to be of high importance is high emotional quotient. See, many times you could be dealing with customers who are too demanding, or in such situations they might not even treat you with the respect that you were expecting, or might get even agitated. So in this case, it is very important that you have a very high level of emotional quotient so that you can adapt to these situations. Along with this, the sales job is definitely going to be a lot more pressurizing as compared to other jobs. So it is only high emotional quotient which will help you sail through and survive through the difficult times, whether it is normal situations or even stressful situations when you could feel that you might not be in a position to achieve your targets, and which eventually will require you to work hard and go an extra mile for achieving these. So basic understanding of consumer behavior and psychology is also going to be very important. When the salesperson understands how consumers buy the product and how they even dispose of, and what is it that motivates them to buy the product or why they don't buy the product, all these facets are going to be very important with respect to pitching the prospects, customers or clients in the best possible ways. As far as psychology is concerned, when you understand the psyche of customers in the same lines with respect to buying or not buying, or what can be used as a trigger in positive way to help them grow or solve their problems, this is definitely going to go a great deal in helping you achieve your sales targets and come across as a star salesman. Now, just to put things in perspective, even if you look at the stages of the sales call or the sales process, whether it is prospecting and lead generation, then getting to pre-approaching, approaching, presentation and demonstration, then handling objections, and finally getting to trial close and closing, all these skills are going to be very important, right? If you are not good at communicating, which means putting your point effectively and even listening, the stages of the sales call may not be that effective, right? Apart from that, basic analytical skills are not only going to help you in deriving rich insights from the consumer's data, but they are also going to help you in figuring out how much profitability levels need to be maintained so that you are making the right contribution for your organization itself, and you are also making sure that the prospect or the customer is not at loss. Apart from that, negotiation skills are very important. For some situations, you could be using team selling approach where you might have a specialized person who could handle the negotiation part. But for a salesman also, it becomes important to have that skill set, because every time team selling approach may not be used. With respect to handling objections also, you should have the required skill set to put your point across effectively, and in convincing the other party, the prospects or the customers, what is it that your product is offering and how prices have been kept like that. See, even with respect to objections, if you look at the perspective of hidden objections, psychology is definitely going to come and play. So now I want you to connect these dots as we move to the next topic. Now we further delve into the interplay between motivation and sales. We first need to understand what motivation is. In simple words, it can be said it is the zeal that drives people to act. Or in other ways, we can say it is the process of simulating people to actions to accomplish the goals. Now, when we are talking about goals, we need to understand there could be a conflict between personal and organizational goals. That's why whenever we draft a motivational plan or we are working on the strategies, we need to take that into account. Otherwise, also, there are a lot of factors which make motivation very crucial for the sales world. So the first one is inherent nature of sales job. We all know that sales anyway is very challenging, right? You are meeting prospects, customers on daily basis, and you might be facing a lot of rejections. until and unless you are motivated in right ways, either in intrinsic ways or by the organizations by adopting extrinsic methods, things may not work out well. Frequent rejections might even force the salespeople to move to a different profession. That's why motivation plays a critical role in the sales world. Apart from that, salespeople usually face frequent highs and lows, which means in 1 month or quarter they would see that the targets have been achieved in fantastic ways, whereas in the next month or quarters they might see that no sales just happened. So in order to manage these highs and lows, we need to have right motivation methods in place. Otherwise, we could again see the same situation. You might see a lot of people who could move to different jobs. Boundary spanning rule also makes it critical. In one ways, you have the salespeople who take care of the interest of the organization. In other ways, he is also required to empathize with the customers and balance their interest as well. So there could be conflict of identifications, like in some cases the salesperson might get too much identified with the customer and may undermine the interest of the organization, or in other situations he could get too identified with the organization's interest and might sell it at an overprice to the customer, which again is not going to be good. And when we talk about advocacy conflicts or salesperson as an advocate for both customer and organization, we are again talking about the same facets, that he is required to balance the interest of both organization as well as customers. Apart from this, working in isolation also makes it a little more difficult. The salespeople who are working in fields, many times they are away from their families, they are away from organization. So we need to figure out ways to keep them going on daily basis, right? So that's why motivation becomes very important, because when they are away from their homes, in one ways you have so much pressure of the sales job, and in other ways they could also be going through emotional upheavals when they are away from their families. So right motivation methods can definitely be magical in this situation. Now there are two ways of understanding the interplay between strategic sales management and motivation. So one is we can understand it through theories, other is we can understand it through the behavioral approach. Now these are the popular motivation theories. First one is Maslow's need hierarchy, which has been very popular, which basically talks about a need hierarchy which comprises 5 levels of needs. Apart from this, you have motivation hygiene theory or two-factor theory, which was proposed by Frederick Herzberg. This basically talks about two kinds of factors, which are motivation and hygiene factors, and can also be called as dissatisfiers and satisfiers. Another theory which is quite popular is Elderfer ERG theory, and this has been proposed by Clayton Elderfer. The next theory is Adams equity theory, which basically talks about being fair with respect to the rewards and treatments that you give to different people in your organization, which are precisely on same or comparable levels. Now the next one is achievement motivation theory, which was proposed by David McClelland, and finally you get to the Room's expectancy model, which was proposed by Victor Harold Room. Now concerning these theories, I am only going to discuss about these in brief, and side by side we'll also talk about how these becomes important in the selling milieu. So the first is Maslow's need hierarchy. The basic premise of this theory is the fact that an individual seeks to fulfill his or her needs based on a hierarchy. So what Abraham Maslow proposed is there are basically 5 kinds of needs that come in play. So the first is physiological needs, which are related to food, clothing, warmth and shelter. The next are safety and security needs, which are precisely related to the feeling of security or feeling safe. The third is social needs, which are related to friendship and belongingness or being socially acceptable. And the fourth one are self-esteem needs, which is in a way get associated with accomplishment and prestige. And finally the self-actualization needs, which is all about reaching your full potential. So what Maslow has proposed is that these needs are going to operate in order, which means that first physiological needs need to be satisfied, then the person will move to safety and security needs, then to social needs, and then self-esteem, and finally self-actualization, which definitely came as a criticism because any of these needs could be at play at one time or collectively as well. Now for the sales world, the implications of these theories can be connected to the point that whatever compensation is being given, that should definitely take care of the physiological needs. If you are paying a salary to someone in which they are not able to make their both ends meet, they are not going to stay in that job for a longer time, right? Until and unless they don't have any other option, they might stay. but this again is going to be for a short time. Apart from that, there should be a sense of security and safety, which means they should never fear that they'll be asked to leave the job or might be terminated, because in this case also the motivation levels are going to be very low. Social needs can also be satisfied by organizing group meetings or going for outings with the sales team, so that friendship and belongingness feelings can also be taken care of. Now, this becomes very important for people who are working far away in fields from their families. Anyway, they are away from their families, and if the organization is not taking care of the social needs, that is definitely going to be a non-acceptable thing for a longer time. Now, these are the lower order needs. When you get to self-esteem and self-actualization, these are considered as higher order needs. With respect to the sales job, feelings of accomplishment and prestige can also be achieved. One way of helping people achieve sales esteem in sales job is by giving them promotions if they are performing in fantastic ways. Maybe a pat on the back or giving appreciation letters or sending appreciation mails can also do the job. And finally, self-actualization is all about reaching full potential. Now, one way of this could be that you provide them all the necessary support so that they can reach wherever they want to be in their jobs. Precisely in this case, could be the position of director, deputy director, or even zonal managers in this case. Another way could be providing them sabbaticals to do what they enjoy most in their life and which they think was the purpose for them as far as their life goals are concerned. Now, when you get to the next theory, which is Elder-Fur two-factor theory, we need to understand hygiene and motivation factors. The basic premise of this theory is factors that lead to motivation and job satisfaction are not the same. Now, we'll understand hygiene and motivation factors. Now, hygiene factors are those factors, their absence is going to create a sense of lack of job satisfaction or dissatisfaction, but their presence is not going to motivate. I'll give you one example for this. If a person is joining a sales job, basic working facilities like the availability of water or a place to sit are going to be hygiene factors. You can't expect the person to be motivated when these are provided, right? The next set of factors is motivation factors, which definitely go beyond mere job satisfaction, and they drive people for goal attainment or for achieving higher goals. And this includes factors like achievement, work itself, recognition, growth potential, advancement, and responsibility. But there is one interesting thing when you talk about hygiene factors. Salary and money have also been considered as a part of hygiene factors, which in a way indicates that after a certain time they are not going to work as motivators. If you talk about the implications of this theory, it becomes important for the sales manager or the reporting manager to identify what is it that works as a hygiene factor for a particular team or a salesman, and what is it that works as a motivation factors for a particular salesman. Then the combination of these should be used to create job satisfaction and then for motivating them to perform to the best of their abilities. The next we are going to discuss is Elder-Fur hierarchy theory. Now, this also can be related to Maslow's need hierarchy. It's just that they had 5 set of needs and Elder-Fur has divided them into 3 needs. So, the existing needs basically talk about taking care of the material and physiological desires. The next one is relatedness needs, which talk about friendship and belongingness. And the last one is growth, which again in a way talks about self-actualization, which is about pushing people to realize their full potential or to progress towards one's ideal self. So, we can use the same implications that we had discussed for the Maslow's need hierarchy. The same can be applied to the hierarchy theory as well. Now, what we are going to discuss is Adams' equity theory. Now, this theory is built on the premise that whatever rewards are being given for the effort should be fair and they should be at par with what is received by peers or other employees at the same level. Now, in the sales world, what becomes important is that pay band of people who are on same level or are performing similar sales job should be same, or even the incentives that are being given to them should be same. If in case you are giving an employee X a higher level of incentives for performing the same which has been done by Y, and their incentives are different, this can lead to a higher level of demotivation and dissatisfaction. Though this is one thing which should be taken care of, which means the people who are performing in comparable ways should be given the same amounts of salary and same amount of incentives and bonuses. Now, another theory which comes in play is David McClelland's achievement motivation theory. Now, in this case, they are basically mentioning about need for achievement, need for power, and need for affiliation. Now, when you talk about need for achievement, it is urge to achieve something in what you do. Now, these are the people who would be basically working on their own. What you need to do is you need to recognize their achievement and provide them all the resources that are required for them to grow. And when you talk about need for power, it is about holding control and authority, which means these people are basically motivated by the power which they command over others. Now, with respect to sales world, this can be done when someone is growing up the ladder, which means when they are performing in fantastic ways and they reach to certain positions, this need can be satisfied. Now, need for affiliation is basically about creating a sense of oneness. It is about taking care of the urge to hold social and interpersonal relationships. One way of satisfying these could be you are organizing regular meetings, you could be taking your team out for lunch or for dinners, or you could also be organizing collective outings with your whole team. This in way can help in these. Now, the last theory which we are going to talk in this is expectancy model by Room. Now, this theory basically recognizes motivation as a process of governing choices. So, as far as this theory is concerned, what the scholar is trying to say is strength of an individual's motivation to behave in a certain way will be dependent upon that the efforts which he or she is going to make will lead to a desired performance, and that desired performance which eventually lead to appropriate rewards and punishment. So one way of performing well could be that if you keep achieving your targets, you will be confirmed for the job, and one way of this could be that you will get higher incentives, bonuses or commissions. So in this case, we need to understand the relationship between the efforts, desired performance and reward. Let's say now you came up with the contest that is someone is going to bring in the business of 1 crore, you are going to give them a bike, right? Now just look at this situation, the reward is definitely not at par with the efforts which one would be making to bring in the business of 1 crore if it is a small organization. So that's why all these things will come in picture. You need to bring in a strong connect between the efforts that one will make, which will lead to the desired level of performance, and finally the rewards which they should be given. Now we get to the another exciting part, which is behavioral approach to motivation. The theories that we just discussed can only be used in the ways they have been explained by scholars, right? But behavioral approach is a lot more exciting. Now there is this outstanding article by HubSpot which basically talks about how to motivate your sales team, 9 tried and true strategies. This is precisely built on the behavioral approach to motivation. So what this approach means is that you should have conversations with people that you want to motivate in different ways. Like you can ask them how they like to be managed. You can also ask them about their personal goals and then see how they can be mapped with the professional goals, because once personal and professional goals achieve a unity at least to a certain level of degree, you will see that the person will have a different level of motivation and will always be pumped up to achieve a higher level of performance. Considering the behavioral approach, you should always set daily, weekly and monthly goals for the people that you want to motivate, because in one ways, let's say if the person is not performing, you will know it beforehand and you will be able to help them work harder or work in better ways to achieve what is required. You should work collectively with them to find out where the issue lies, which means if the targets are not being achieved or there is something which is not going right, you should not completely put it on the salespeople. Rather, you should work collectively with them, figure out where the issue lies, and together you should find out solutions, and then you will see that it is definitely going to change the way they behave. And let people pick rewards. See, we want them to perform to the best of abilities. Let them decide what is it that they'll want as a reward, and finally give great rewards, which means that they should be at par with the performance or what is it that they have achieved. So I would urge you to go and read this article. Trust me, you are going to get some fantastic and outstanding insights as far as this particular article is concerned. Now we'll be talking in brief about the last topic of this particular module, which is channel management. In simple ways, channel management is all about managing your channel partners. These are basically the facilitators which we use to promote and distribute product and services to the customers. Just imagine a world in which channels don't exist. If a product is being manufactured at one place, you will only be able to sell it at that place. Just imagine how challenging it is going to be and how limiting also. We might not be able to utilize the best of products that come from multinationals from different countries. We might not be able to enjoy the various specialities of different places as far as even our country is concerned. In other ways, channel partner is also described in ways that they are used for transferring the ownership of goods and services from one point to another. These are basically the functions that channels perform. They manage inventory, they take care of the physical distribution, they break bulk, and they also share the financial risk with the manufacturers. They also play a great role in marketing communication, which means they provide information about the new products to the prospects or the customers who visit their outlets. They also provide guidance and support with respect to providing the ground reality feedback to the salespeople, which is then passed on to the top management. So, one thing which becomes important for us to understand is how channel management and sales come at play. See, one thing is very self explanatory, which is sales is only happening through channels, right? If you want to buy something, you will go to a nearby retailer or an outlet to buy products, or even if it is an online channel, the sales are definitely happening through the modes of channels, right? Mobile apps, going through the websites, or even catalogs, all these are going to be the facets of channel management. So one thing which is crucial is that the channel should aim at creating delightful customer experiences across channels, which means whenever information is required or information services need to be given, channels can definitely play an important role. And forms of salesmen, let's say in stores you might see inside order takers, they should also be well trained in dealing with customers in best possible ways and taking care of their needs. In simple ways, we can say they should be always on their toes with respect to creating best of experiences for the customers. Apart from this, when we talk about channel management, we can't deny the facet of multi-channel management. The whole idea is about making sure that no customer is lost, which means if you have certain customers who are not comfortable buying from stores, we should definitely come up with online channels for them or mobile applications for them. Likewise, if there is a certain big section of people who would like to visit stores, try products, touch and feel them, then you can think of coming up with stores for them. Maybe you can consider the example of Lenskart. They have their stores where you can go and try products and see how they look on them. Then you can place the order through their app. We cannot also ignore the power of social selling. We have discussed about this at length, which means how today we need to use various social media platforms to reach out to the prospects or the customers. But one thing is, we should definitely see the product fit between the social media channels and our customers. The another intriguing facet is going to be about online versus offline channels. Do we need both? Which means the organizations need to ask themselves, if we are present offline, how much beneficial is it going to be if we go online? This clearly indicates that having online channels may not be fruitful for every organization, or if an organization is operating online, having offline channels may not be fruitful or beneficial for them. Apart from this, we also need to train our channel partners for handling challenges like showrooming and webrooming. I am sure with respect to showrooming and webrooming, you'll be able to connect the dots. And as I had said last time also, we'll be happy to read your views in the forum to know how do you think we can train channel partners, or how we can handle the challenges of showrooming and webrooming in the best possible ways. So as far as this module is concerned, I hope you had a great time learning about the personal selling skills and also about how we can motivate the sales team so that we can bring out the best from them, and finally about the facets of channel management which we discussed in brief just now. So wishing you a great day ahead. Thanking you for now.